This view is everything. Shit, I could get used to this. That's right. You can see a lot more when you're standing on the top floor and stuff.
Hello, this is Les Brown, Mrs. Mamie Brown's baby boy. You know, in the first part of the series, we talked about the winner's mindset. And we really have to get into a ritual, a whole process of deliberately programming our minds so that we can maintain a certain kind of state of mind that will enable us to perform and do the things that we want to do, that will empower us to live beyond our mental conditioning and our circumstances and create the kind of life that we feel that we deserve and that we desire. And that process of surrounding ourselves with people that we can learn from, that we can grow from, the process of reading on a regular basis, of listening to audio programs, of having goals that will challenge us, that will stretch us, that will take us beyond our comfort zone, all of those things, creating an atmosphere that will allow us to maintain that kind of state of mind is crucial today more than ever before. And so the next step in beginning to release your infinite greatness is to reinvent yourself. I cannot tell you how important that is. You know, the late Peter Drucker said that this is the era of the 3 C's: accelerated change, overwhelming complexity, and tremendous competition. Ladies and gentlemen, the 40-40 plan is gone. The day is gone where you can get out of high school and go to college and get out and expect to get a job and work 40 hours a week doing the same thing for 40 years. That day is gone. There's no such thing as job security. In fact, if you are working today, what we realize now, you're going to have core competencies, at least 3 core competencies. You're going to have to do at least 2 to 3 jobs for 1 paycheck. I'm reminded of a friend of mine that I was talking with the other day, and he got this job and he was working around 80 to 90 hours a week. He was doing the work of 3 people, but he got only 1 paycheck. That's what's happening right now. We've gone from a domestic economy to the global economy. Alvin Toffler talked about it in Future Shock. And yes, people are in a state of shock. So how do you begin to bring out your greatness in this kind of volatile atmosphere? Number 1, you have to reinvent yourself. Every day you have to look for ways to get better. One author said, you either get better or you get beaten. When I look at my life, and I think about something that George Bernard Shaw said. He was in an interview and a young reporter said, Mr. Shaw, if you had it in your power, considering the accomplished life that you have lived, I'm sure there's somebody that you admire. If you had it in your power to be born again and come back as another individual, who would that person be? And I'm sure the reporter had in mind, he wanted to find out who is it that George Bernard Shaw holds in high esteem, and who is it that he admires, and who is it that he would like to be that particular person. And Mr. Shaw said, without blinking an eye, he said, I'd like to become the man I never was. Wow. When I read those words, I reflected on my own life, because as a 15-year prostate cancer conqueror, as an individual who's had 5 stents in his heart, as an individual who's had all kind of challenges in life and close calls, I know I should have been gone a long time ago. And I'm constantly evaluating myself, asking, if I had my life to live over again, could I have done more than what I've done? And the answer is yes. What about you? Whenever I ask an audience that question, if you had your life to live over again, could you have done more than what you have done thus far? Most people, if they're honest, they say yes. The question is, why is it that we don't do that? Well, I believe it's because we've been programmed. We've been programmed to go to college, get out, and get a job, and not think about what is it we ought to be doing. We've been programmed to live for a pension rather than our passion. I believe that we've been programmed to think in terms of jobs to make our parents proud. I have a friend of mine who said that the reason that he became a lawyer because his father was a lawyer, his mother was a lawyer, his grandfather was a lawyer, and it was the thing that the family did. I said, but do you like practicing law? He said, no. He didn't like that. That was not his dream. That was his parents' dream. What is your dream? What is it you want to do? Here's what I know about you. You have greatness within you. You have the ability to do more than you can ever begin to imagine. When I think about the words in Lion King, Simba, you're more than that which you have become. And when I look at my life, I used to be a disc jockey for WVKO radio station in Columbus, Ohio. And then I became a commentator. I would do editorials, and then I did a talk show, and then I became a community activist. And then I ran for the Ohio legislature, and I was elected to the Ohio legislature 3 different times and became the chairman of the Human Resource Committee. I passed 14 pieces of legislation. And then I became a motivational speaker and an author and a television talk show host. And I'm still trying to find out what else I've got in me, what's left. What is it that you have left in you? I say to you that as you look at yourself, look at your goals, look at your dreams, and make sure they are big dreams. I found that most people fail in life not because they aim too high and miss. Most people are just like I was. They aim too low and hit. As you work on yourself and work on your mind, as you begin to challenge yourself to get out of your comfort zone, Brian Tracy calls it the danger zone. See, really, it's not a comfort zone because you really learn to become uncomfortable with your discomfort. See, I was working on a job. I didn't like the job. The job was not me. I have a friend of mine who she just left her job one day, and I said, "What happened?" She said, "I was dying inside. That was not me. I just couldn't do it anymore." Have you ever been like that? I've seen people in relationships where they were dying together rather than growing together, and then one just decided, "I'm going. I'm out of here." I remember a friend of mine that I lived next door to named Mr. Marvin, and every week he would come home intoxicated and he would jump on his wife. And I saw her years later, and I said, "Miss Lillian, how you doing?" She said, "Fine, baby." And I said, and how's Mr. Marvin?" She said, "I don't know. I haven't seen him." I said, "You haven't seen him?" They were married for over 30 years. She said, "I left." I said, "What happened?" She said, I'd had it with him beating on me. I'd had it with him treating me the way he treated me. I'd had it living in that kind of toxic relationship." You know, that's when people change. That's when they decide to reinvent themselves. That's when they decide, "I've got to do something else." When they look at their life and they say, "I've had it." For years, some people tolerate all kinds of things, and then one day they wake up and say, no, I'm done. I'm out of here. And I think that as you look at yourself, I want you to take the time and ask yourself the question, what is it that if you had in your power to do, if money was an issue, what would you do right now? If you knew you had 1 year to live, what would you do differently? Let me share this with you. I was sitting in the Ohio legislature. I had just gotten reelected from the 29th House District. And I was reading this book about how to get control of your time in your life. And they had an exercise in there. And the exercise said, if you had 6 months to a year to live, what would you do differently? I thought about it. I wrote down, I would spend more time with my mother. I would spend time working in the community in Miami, where I was born and raised, working with young people, giving motivational speeches and developing motivational workshops and seminars to reduce the dropout rate in our high schools and the recidivism rate in our prisons. And I would work with people to help galvanize and organize the community for people to begin to know that they have greatness within them and they have the power to control their destiny. And then I turned to the next page, and the next page said, whatever you wrote on the previous page, do as much as you can right now, because for all you know, this could be your last day on earth. And God is my witness. 3 days later, I resigned from the Ohio legislature and left Columbus, Ohio, and went back to Miami, Florida to take care of my mother, who adopted me and my brothers and sisters. At age 46, she only had a 3rd grade education, and fulfilled the dream of buying her a home, took care of her until she passed at 89, and reinvented myself. Now, is it easy? No. And let me share this with you. Reinventing yourself, it is difficult. It's hard. Learning something different from what you're now doing, it's hard. Just think about it. I was a disc jockey. Les Brown, LB Triple B, Les Brown, your platter playing popper. There were none before me, and there will be none after me. Therefore, that makes me the one and only. Let me tell you, that was not easy to go from there to develop myself into an intellectual resource to be hired by AT&T, Procter & Gamble, McDonald's Corporation, General Electric, to establish myself as an intellectual resource to get them to reach over people with years of experience and PhDs and MBAs and hire me as an intellectual resource. To change my voice, to change my knowledge base, to commit myself to reading 2 to 3 books a week. I remember being in a workshop and the guy said, "You want to change your life?" He said, "Read 1 book a month." The average American reads 1 book a year. If you read 1 book a month, in 5 years, when the average American has read 5 books and you would have read 60 books, that will make you an expert. Whoa. He said, "Knowledge is the new currency." I said, wow. Well, because I was labeled educable mentally retarded and failed twice in school, put back from the 5th grade to the 4th grade, failed again when I was in the 8th grade, and no college training and no corporate experience, I felt I needed to read at least 2 to 3 books a week. And I did. I made the commitment, and I do that to this day. I had to reinvent myself. Now, I want you to think about that. What is it you would be doing right now if money was an issue? If you could not fail, what would that be? Start using your imagination. And let me share something with you. As you begin to challenge yourself, as you begin to stretch yourself, you'll discover some things about yourself that you don't even know right now. You've got greatness within you. And most people don't realize that when you have a goal and dream, and this is the reason that I think that a lot of people don't ever try and do anything differently because they don't want to fail. Let me share something with you. And reinventing yourself, you will fail your way to success. Yes. See, 87% of people allow their fear of failure to outweigh their desire to succeed. In order to go where you want to go and do what it is you want to do, you've got to be willing to die to who you are now to give birth to who you must become. And that takes courage. Now, courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is the willingness to act in spite of the fear. It was frightening for me. Standing up before corporations, speaking at Harvard University, Rutgers University, people with college degrees. I used to feel inferior to people because they had college degrees and I don't have one. And for years, I sat on the sidelines. For 14 years, I didn't do what I'm doing right now. What is it you thought about doing? And rather than focusing on what it is you want to do and what is it you have going for you, you did like I did. I focused on what I had working against me. I don't have a college education. I've never done this before. I don't have any connections and relationships with anybody in that area. I don't have the money. I don't have the credentials. I don't have the 4-color brochures. I don't have the resources. I was coming up with a litany of things that stated why I couldn't do what I'm doing right now. There's an African proverb that says, if there's no enemy within, the enemy outside can do us no harm. As you begin to develop and to maintain this winner's mindset, and as you begin to reinvent yourself, as you begin to think about what is it I need to experiment with life. So you got to experiment with life. You got to find out what makes you tick. What is it that turns you on? And even though you are good at something, I have a friend, she's good at writing, but she doesn't enjoy writing. See, I enjoyed being a disc jockey. I enjoyed it very much. But I realized just because I enjoyed that and mastered that, it doesn't mean that I can't learn how to do something else and enjoy that and master that. And then I've transferred those skills from broadcasting into public speaking and now coaching and developing other speakers and developing coaching programs and using technology to even explore new horizons. I love what Jim Rohn said, when the end comes for you, let it find you conquering a new mountain, not sliding down an old one. Yes. See, I believe Dwight Pleasure, one of the speakers I've been working with, and he's a very good friend, he was right. He said, we went to the funeral of one of his uncles, and someone said that his uncle died in a room by himself. And Dwight said, oh, no. He didn't die in the room by himself. Everybody knew my uncle, and he will always talk about one day I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna do this. He had big dreams and he had big ideas, and he never did any of them. They were just conversations. And when he died on that day in that room, those dreams and those ideas and those gifts and those talents, they died with him. I remember coming out of the cemetery after funeralizing my best friend, Alexander Wims. We called him Boo. And when I was speaking on the road, Boo and I traveled together. We met each other in the second grade, and Boo was a great cook. Oh, wonderful person. I mean, a sunshine smile, and never met a stranger. And when Boo cooked, let me tell you something, angels stopped flapping their wings. When Boo cooked, birds stopped chirping. When Boo cooked, let me tell you, everybody swarmed around the kitchen. And Boo used to talk about that he had this secret recipe, and he said, Les, I'm going to put this recipe book together, and we will do it together, and I'm going to teach you how to fix the recipe and how to cook. I said, okay, Boo, yes. And I would talk to audiences about the fact that Boo and I have a recipe, a special secret recipe of his Bahamian and Jamaican dishes, and we're going to be coming out with this brand new cookbook with all of his best recipes. And when I was coming out of the cemetery, a young lady came up to me and she said, did you and Boo ever do the cookbook with his secret recipes? I said, no. She said, ooh, he took that with him. He took that with him. If you died today, what will you take with you? I want you to think about that. What will you take with you? What books? What dreams? What ideas? What talent? What voice will you take with you? Miles Monroe, great preacher out of the Bahamas, he said the wealthiest place on the planet is not in the Far East where there's oil in the ground. It's not in South Africa where there are diamond mines. He said the wealthiest place on the planet is the cemetery. It's the cemetery. Because there you find potential. There you find dreams unfulfilled. There you find music never written. There you find books never explored and written, and ideas never acted upon. There you find people who just never gave themselves a chance. People who gave up on themselves. And I'm very fortunate to still be here, that I have another chance, and you have another chance. Aurelia said, stop living like you have 1,000 years to live. I want you to take the time, get pen and paper and sit down or sit at the computer and start making your bucket list. You know the movie. The list of things that you want to do before you leave here. And I've started doing that myself and start working on them. By the yard, it's hard, Robert Schuller would say, but inch by inch, anything is essential. And you owe it to yourself. And you owe it to us. You owe it to the planet. I believe that you were chosen for a reason. You were chosen 1 out of 400 million sperm. I believe that God had something in mind when he chose you. Something in mind. There's something that you had that made you stand out. There's something that you've got that if you don't do it, if you don't perform it, if you don't bring it in a historical context, we will all be deprived. So part of discovering and releasing your greatness is having that winner's mindset of having a clear goal of what it is you want to achieve, of believing that you can do it, and your willingness to reinvent yourself, your willingness to give up who you've been, to give birth to who you can and must become in order to achieve your goals. Because at the end of the day, you don't get in life what you want. You get in life what you are. But Les, will I make some mistakes? Yes. The only people that are not making mistakes, they're in the cemetery. You're going to make some mistakes. I believe that you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. That's a part of the process. Failing is a part of the process. Making mistakes, that's a part of the process. I had a coach, one of my early mentors, Ed Foreman. He said that as you look at yourself and look at your goals, anything that's worth doing is worth doing badly. Wow. See, we've been taught that anything is worth doing right. Yeah, it's worth doing right if you know how to do it. But if you don't know how to do it, it's worth doing badly until you get it right. See, all of us are born the same way. At the end of the day, dumb, naked, and speechless. And everything else we learn through trial and error. And as we work on ourselves and work on our goals and work on our dreams, as we are willing to become risk takers, and that's very important. The reason that most people are not reinventing themselves, and they're as the man said, we're all born unique, but most of us die copies. They go through life being just like everybody else. The reason is that most people are not willing to do the hard work and not willing to become risk takers. Viscott said, if you're not willing to risk, you can't grow. And if you can't grow, you can't become your best. And if you can't become your best, you can't be happy. And if you can't be happy, then what else is there? And as you look at yourself and look at your goals and look at your dreams, you've got to be willing to put yourself at risk. You've got to be willing to work. You've got to be willing to give it everything you've got. A.O. Williams said, all you can do is all you can do. And all you can do is enough, but make sure you do all you can do. Well, Les, I did everything I could, and I failed. Things did not work out. I gave it my best shot, and I ran out of money, and I ran out of time. I'm old now, and so that dream is dead. And a friend of mine named Ted Sutton, he said, sometimes the death of a dream can be the birth of your destiny. Wow. A friend of mine named Shara, a very talented and gifted athlete, and his dream was to become a professional football player. And he had a great and promising career. And then one day, one hit blew his knee out. One hit, one tackle changed everything. And on that day, as they helped him off the field, he heard the voice of his mother saying, I want you to be a doctor. And the day that his football career ended gave birth to his career as a doctor. And now he's a healer. And now he's living a totally different life and loving every minute of it. See, as long as you're breathing, you're still here. You've got another shot. Every day above ground is a good day. If you don't believe it, just try missing one. Reinventing yourself, the willingness to learn something that you don't know, the willingness to experiment, the willingness to try out some new things, the willingness to put yourself at risk, the willingness to put yourself in a new environment, the willingness to take on a new challenge, to take on a new position, and to learn to be awkward and make some mistakes and look dumb and stupid, have people laugh at you and talk about you. I can't tell you the number of friends who told me and said, excuse me, Les, you're going to become a motivational speaker like the late Dr. Norman Vincent Peale, like Zig Ziglar, like Dr. Robert Schuller, and you're going to speak for corporations? My brother said, Leslie, don't those people have college educations? Yes. Do you? Wesley, you know I don't. Leslie, have you ever done what it is you are going to go in and motivate them to do? You know I haven't. Leslie, don't they already have people there with credentials and years of experience that you don't have, and they're going to reach over those people and pay you? How much you're going to earn? $1,000 an hour. $1,000 an hour. Leslie, do you earn $1,000 a week now? No, I don't. What does that have to do with anything? Leslie, stop dreaming, man. Come on. You can't do this. You will never do it. My mother said something that's very important to me. She said, Leslie, I said, yes, ma'am, Mama. Never let someone tell you you can't do something, especially if they haven't done it. But it was not the conversation from my brother. It was not the conversations from my family members and friends that stopped me. It was a conversation that I had with myself. This man who changed my life, who has been a voice of encouragement and inspiration He changed my life, and he asked me, Mr. Brown, why didn't you accept the scholarship in speech and drama at Florida A&M University? And I said, Mr. Washington, didn't they tell you? And he said, no. Several teachers met with me, sir, and they said that I was not college material and you would not be there to help me. And he said, Mr. Brown, I know that you're not smart like your sister at the University of Miami and like your twin brother. And I know that it's a struggle for you with the books. I know it's hard for you, but you have something special. You have greatness within you. And he said, but I want to know this. What did you think? And I said, to be honest with you, sir, I didn't think I could do it without you. And he said something to me that I will never forget, and I'm saying to you right now. He said, Leslie? I said, yes, sir. He said, sometimes you have to believe in somebody's belief in you until your belief kicks in. Wow. And I say to you, you've got greatness within you. I say to you that there are talents, there are abilities, there are skills in you, there are gifts in you. As you stretch yourself, as you get outside of your comfort zone, as you become a risk taker, as you are willing to do the work, to die to who you are now, to give birth to who you can become. And then as you work and get closer to that person, that greatness in you, you will amaze yourself. You've already had some moments in your life where you've said, I can't believe that I'm doing this. I can't believe that this is me. And let me share something with you. It's only a tip of the iceberg. There is more in you than you are expressing. You've got greatness within you. Be willing to work on your mind. Be willing to reinvent yourself, to become the miracle worker, that unrepeatable miracle that you are, that was chosen to change the world with your contribution. This has been Mrs. Mamie Brown's Baby.
See, you don't want to go in a mindset of expecting not to get the deal or expecting to be rejected. Oh, there's no question that rejection is out there, but there's something in you, this positive emotion, this vibration, there's something in you when you are in alignment with yourself that won't allow a tongue to reject you, that won't allow a physician to open his mouth or her mouth and say, no, I'm not interested. There's a dimension, there's an energy field that you can create. I'm telling you what I know. I asked him, I took time to talk with him about his personal ritual. Unlike most of the presenters or the speakers who just went out and spoke, he had quiet time. He took time working with himself, working with his emotions, working with his spirit, working with his energy, working with his thoughts, being in alignment, being focused, concentrated, laser approach to closing the room. Closing the room. Yes, he had a ritual, listening to motivational messages first thing in the morning, things that he read that empowered him, that made him feel good, music that he played, his exercise, his meditation, his prayer, his visualization, all of these things you must do. See yourself going past the gatekeepers. See yourself being competent, standing in your power as you speak, and through the words that you speak, there's a spirit that will touch and transform the thinking of the doctors and their hearts and their energies, and there's a feeling that they have about you. They say yes. The look in your eyes, they say yes. The smile that you give, they say yes. The way that you touch their hands, the way that you hold yourself in the space, they are compelled to say yes. When you show up, when you get out of the car in the parking lot, as you approach the office, things are lined up for you. Crooked places are made straight, and the environment has been created to say yes to you. Yes. to your products. Yes to your service. Yes to your advice. Yes. 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 He created that. I worked with that. And I can tell you how valuable that has been for me. Living your life from the inside out rather than from the outside in. See, most people go through life as thermometers. They react to the temperature of life. But the James Smiths of life are thermostats. They don't react to the temperature. They don't care about what's going on in the general economy. They are only focused on their personal economy. They don't care what people say about, oh, well, it's the laws have been changed and it's been more challenging now than ever before in this industry, and focus on all the stuff that's been taken away. They focus on what's left and how do I maximize this. And they look at what's left and say, this is enough. I can do this. I can make this work. This is all I need. If my chances are slim to none, I'll take slim. That's a different kind of energy. Do you hear me? This is a different kind of peace. I'm telling you, you've got that kind of power in you. You've got some stuff in you. You can feel me right now. You can feel it now in you. Yes. That power, that's who you are back there. When you get this, you listen over and over and over again, you are going to have some experiences that will amaze you. Yes, you will. Believing, working on that belief, reading, developing a ritual that feeds your spirit, that feeds your energy, being in a positive state of mind, living your life from the inside out rather than from the outside in. It's amazing. Just think about this. You know, we're all familiar with the story of Roger Bannister, who broke the 4-minute mile. Before he had done it, it had never been accomplished. They used to use horses to pull men trying to do it. And once he did it, numerous other individuals accomplished the same goal. What changed? The only thing that changed was the belief that it could be done and the expectation that it will be done, because everyone knew it had been done. The most money I've ever generated in a selling process at one time was $260,000. And I thought I was at the top of my game. And then I was on a program, and everyone who went before me, and I had trained these people on how to strategically tell their story, everyone who went on before me sold over $1 million. I said, whoa. Now, I must admit, I didn't do $1 million that day, but that day I did $410,000. Now, mind you, I sold $260,000 worth of products to just over 8,000 people, but on that day, I sold $410,000 to just over 500 people. What was different? The belief and the expectation that if they can do it, I can do it. And so here's what I want you to do. Get a ritual. If it's writing, if it's prayer, if it's meditation, if it's listening to audio programs for 30 minutes to an hour a day, or while you're driving around in your car, if it's before going in to present or to see a customer, that you sit in your car and you get centered, you get into your energy, into your power, that you talk to yourself and say, this is it. I'm going to accomplish some incredible things today. And visually see yourself going step by step through the process. See doctors welcoming you, saying, come on in. See the gatekeepers, the nurses, and the staff being pleased because you showed up. See them responding to this invisible force around you that they can't explain, but so inviting and so irresistible that it is an atmosphere of yes. Visualize that. Come from your heart when you speak, not from your head. Don't push the studies. No. They're looking at you. When you show up, they're asking 3 questions. Who are you? What do you have? And why should I care? And when they are able to positively discover who you are through your smile, through the look in your eyes, with your presence, trust me, they will say yes. It will be the greatest experience they would have ever had and what you have ever gone through. They will say yes. You will be able to serve them and help them to solve problems that's been keeping them up at night. You will have insights and strategies that will help them to grow their practice and better serve their patients. Because you showed up, they know their lives, their practice, their business will never be the same again. Because of your presence. Say yes to yourself, yes to your dream, yes to the opportunities that are before you to serve the people that you must serve. Thank you.
Yeah. This view is everything. Shit, I could get used to this. That's right. You can see a lot more